It's a Wednesday afternoon. Someone hands you a card, just a birthday card, nothing dramatic. You read the first line and your throat closes before you've finished the sentence. You look away. You blink fast. You pretend to check your phone. You've cried at commercials, at songs you've heard 50 times. At a dog being reunited with its owner in a video you weren't even looking for. You've cried in the car alone, in the shower where no one could see you, at nothing you could even name. And every time the same thought, what is wrong with me? But psychology tells a completely different story. There are 6 rare traits that define people who cry easily, and not one of them is weakness. Trait 1. Your nervous system has a lower sensory processing threshold, which means you are receiving emotional data that other people's brains filter out before it ever reaches conscious awareness. Most people think crying easily means your emotions are too big. The science says something different. It says your intake system is more sensitive, not your emotions, your intake. Psychologist Elaine Aron spent decades researching what she called sensory processing sensitivity. She found that roughly 20% of the population has a nervous system that processes incoming stimuli, sounds, light, social dynamics, emotional atmosphere, at a significantly deeper level than average. Your brain isn't overreacting. It's receiving more signal. Think about it this way. Most people walk into a room and pick up the surface level. Who's there? What's happening? What's being said? You walk into the same room and pick up the undercurrent, the tension between two people who haven't spoken, the exhaustion behind someone's smile, the weight underneath the casual conversation. You feel more because you notice more. And when that much information comes through the system at once, the body responds. Not because something is wrong, because everything is working exactly as it was built to work. Trait 2. You have an unusually high level of mirror neuron activation, which means you don't just observe other people's emotions, you briefly inhabit them. This is why you cry at strangers' joy. This is why a video of a father seeing his daughter for the first time, someone you have never met and will never meet, can move you to tears in under 30 seconds. Your brain isn't being dramatic, it's doing something neurologically specific. Mirror neurons are the part of your brain that fires when you observe an action or emotion, almost as if you were experiencing it yourself. In people with high mirror neuron activation, the boundary between watching and feeling becomes genuinely thin. You see someone receive devastating news and your chest tightens. You watch someone achieve something they've worked years for, and something rises in your throat. You aren't projecting, you aren't being oversensitive. Your brain is doing what it was designed to do. Model other people's internal states in real time. The person next to you who watched the same video and felt nothing isn't more stable than you. Their mirror system is just quieter. Yours was built louder, and that loudness is the reason you understand people in ways most of them can't even articulate. Trait 3. Your emotional response bypasses cognitive suppression, which means your body expresses what most adults have spent years training themselves to bury. Here's something most people don't think about. Crying easily isn't the uncontrolled state. Not crying easily is the trained state. From childhood, most people learn, consciously or not, to interrupt the emotional signal before it reaches the surface. A parent who said, "Stop crying." A classroom where showing emotion meant vulnerability. A workplace culture that rewards composure above everything else. Over years, over decades, people build a suppression system, a wall between feeling and expressing. You never fully built that wall. Or you built it and it keeps coming down. And psychology would tell you that is not a disorder. It is the absence of a disorder. What's called alexithymia, the clinical inability to identify and express emotions, is the other end of the spectrum. You're at the opposite end. You have what researchers call high interoceptive awareness. You feel the signal before your mind has even processed the words for it. If you've ever started tearing up and genuinely not known why yet, that's this. Your body knew before your brain caught up. That's not weakness. That's a nervous system doing its job faster than language can. If this is resonating with you, subscribe. There's more on this channel about the psychology behind the way you experience the world, and why it makes more sense than you've been told. Trait 4. You have a deeply integrated memory and emotion system, which means sensory triggers. A specific song, a smell, a quality of afternoon light can collapse the distance between the past and the present in an instant. You know this experience. A song comes on that you haven't heard in 10 years, and suddenly you're not in your car anymore. You are somewhere else entirely. The feeling is so immediate, so physical, it almost doesn't feel like memory. It feels like now. This is not nostalgia in the soft, pleasant sense. This is your hippocampus and amygdala working in unusually close coordination. The brain stores memories with their emotional context attached. The smell of a specific food, the sound of rain on a particular kind of roof, a handwriting style on a card. These aren't just sensory data, they're keys. And in people with high emotional sensitivity, those keys open doors faster, harder, and more completely than in people who process at a shallower depth. You don't just remember your grandmother's kitchen, you're briefly in it. You don't just recall a moment, you re-enter the emotional state it held. For most people, this happens occasionally. For you, it happens constantly. Every day is layered with echoes of other days. Every present moment carries the weight of accumulated meaning. That's not a glitch. That's a richness of inner life that most people only access in their most significant moments, and you carry it through ordinary Wednesdays. Trait 5. You process meaning at a deeper level than most people, which means you don't cry at the thing itself. You cry at what the thing represents. This is the one that's hardest to explain to someone who doesn't experience it. It's not the birthday cake that breaks you open. It's the recognition that this moment right now is already becoming the past, that the people around the table won't always be this age, that this particular configuration of people and light and sound will never exist again exactly like this. You're not crying at the cake, you're crying at time. Psychologists studying the Big 5 personality traits have found that people who score high on openness to experience, the dimension that includes depth of feeling, aesthetic sensitivity, and existential awareness, are significantly more likely to experience what researchers call aesthetic chills, that involuntary wave of feeling that moves through you when music resolves perfectly. When a line in a book says something you've never had words for, when the light does something in the late afternoon that feels almost unbearably beautiful. You feel the weight of things, you feel their meaning, and meaning is heavy in a way that the surface of things never is. That's not too much. That is a form of depth that most people spend their entire lives trying to access and never quite reaching. Trait 6. Your emotional intelligence operates in real time, which means you read the emotional subtext of a room, a conversation, or a silence before anyone else speaks, and your body responds to what it already knows. You've probably experienced this. Someone starts a sentence in a particular tone of voice, and you feel something shift in your chest before they finish saying it. You already know something is wrong before the words confirm it. Your nervous system is 3 steps ahead. This isn't anxiety, though it can feel like it. This is predictive emotional processing. Your brain is running a constant high-resolution model of the emotional states around you, reading micro-expressions, tonal shifts, pauses, the way someone holds their body, and drawing conclusions faster than conscious thought. And sometimes, when that model lands on something significant, a truth that's about to be spoken, a goodbye that's underneath a normal conversation, a love that isn't being said out loud, you cry before the moment has even fully arrived, because you already felt it coming. You're not too sensitive for this world. You are, in a very literal neurological sense, more present in it than most people ever get to be. You've probably spent years treating this as a flaw, something to apologize for, something to hide in bathrooms and manage in parking lots before you walk back in. But what you've been apologizing for is a nervous system with more range, a brain that processes more deeply, a heart that never fully learned to shut the signal out. You were never broken, you were built differently. Which trait hit closest to home? Drop a number in the comments, 1 through 6. And if you've never been able to explain this part of yourself to someone who needed to understand it, send them this video. Sometimes the right words are the ones someone else finally puts together for you.